How many position groups, how many units for the Georgia Bulldogs are among the top 10 in the country? If you ask Pro Football Focus, they've got 5 different units for the Georgia Bulldogs ranked among the top 10 in the nation in college football. If you're not familiar with Pro Football Focus, better known as PFF, they are a database, they are a media outlet that puts a lot of numbers into finding different specific analytical data, and they do these comprehensive rankings based on all of these different numbers. If it's for running backs, it could be like missed tackles and yards after contact and all these different numbers that go into it. And they rank players, they rank teams, they analyze football. They've got 5 different units for the Georgia Bulldogs among the top 10 in the country. I think if you've got 5 units in the top 10 in the country, you got a pretty good roster. You got some of the best. You'll notice when I'm going through these lists, you'll see a handful of teams that are repeat offenders. You're going to see them on the list over and over. These are the teams with the best rosters in college football, the ones that have got players all over the board, all over the football field, that are some of the best at their position in the entire country. I think that I'm going to reveal these 5, and if I told you this number like a year ago, you would have laughed at it, and you would have thought, well, if Georgia had that good of a unit a year ago, maybe they're doing better than just an SEC championship. Let's dive into this. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post, dawgpost.com. Check it out. Media Days is in a couple of days. We're going to be in Atlanta. We're going to be giving you all of the live updates in person of what's going on. What's going on with Gunnar Stockton, C.J. Allen, Dalen Everett, Kirby Smart, and the rest of the SEC will be there to find out. The best way to keep up with us is going to the website, signing up for our newsletter, and of course, checking in here every day because we're putting up 3 to 4 videos a day on here. Make sure you're checking us out on all of that. Let's start with the running backs. They've got Georgia's running back unit as number 8 in college football, the 8th best unit in college football. Georgia did not have a top 10 running back unit in the sport last year. It was an injury-riddled one. It was one that wasn't what we thought it was going to be in August. It wasn't that in November, right? Because Roderick Robinson never really hit the field. Branson Robinson didn't last very long. You didn't think Nate Frazier was going to play as big of a role as he did. And expectations for Trevor Etienne were a little bit higher than what the actual output that you got out of him was. Well, this year you get Nate Frazier back. You get Josh McCray from the transfer portal. You've got Chauncey Bowens and Dwight Phillips Jr. and Bo Walker, some other youth that will probably find a way to contribute. And then if Roderick Robinson's healthy again, you think he'll have a little bit of a role. Cash Jones has a receiving role for this team. That unit ranked 8, right? Oklahoma's got a transfer. They've got Oklahoma at 7. They've got the transfer running back from Cal, Jaden Ott. They've got Javonte Barnes. They've got Oregon at number 8. I don't know much about Oregon's running back situation. I know Noah Whittington is very good, going to be one of the ball carriers for them. They've got A&M at number 5. Le'Veon Moss is one of the better running backs in college football. He'll lead that unit. They've got Louisville at number 4 because of Jawar Jordan and Isaac Guerrero a couple of years ago. But Duke Watson looks like he'll be their number 1. Texas at 3, Quintravion Wisener will be their 1. Notre Dame's got Jeremiah Love, and then Penn State's got that duo. I wouldn't put Georgia over most of those running back rooms, so I think they got that about right. Stick to offense. Receivers. Receiving units. Georgia's got a top 10 one. According to PFF, they've got number 6, right? An unreliable group last year, led the country in drops, is now going to be led by Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, Kobe Young, Dylan Bell. You got London Humphreys in there. You got Sokovie White in there. It's a receiving room that looks to be a lot deeper. They think that they're number 6 in the country. Yeah, Georgia did not have a top 10 receiving group in college football a year ago. That was not the case. I think that Carson Beck's life would have been a lot easier if he did have that. I think that this offense would have been clicking on a different level. They've got tight ends included in this, so they're including Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky, Jaden Riddell in this receiving unit. Who do they have ranked over Georgia? Hard to argue with Alabama, who's got Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. Right, Ryan Williams, one of the best wide receivers in the country. They got Ole Miss at number 4, whose best receiver did go to the NFL. They've still got a few guys. They think Daquan Wright is going to be really good. Look, this Georgia receiving room has improved. I don't know if you could put it top 3. The top 3 they've got is Ohio State, Auburn, and Clemson. Look, Clemson They got Bryant Wesco. They've got Antonio Williams. Guys that people think are going to take a step forward, some younger receivers. Auburn's got Cam Coleman, the forgotten of the trio of legit 5-star receivers we saw in the 2024 recruiting class. Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams. Cam Coleman was that other guy. He's at Auburn. He's joined by Eric Singleton, who many believed was the best receiver in the transfer portal, leaving Georgia Tech headed to Auburn. So Georgia, maybe a top 10 receiving unit, not better than some of these other ones. Still, I think that if you're Georgia, you're starting to feel a little bit better about that possibility. On defense, they've got the defensive line, the secondary, and the linebacker unit all ranked in the top 10. And they've got the defensive line ranked at number 7. And this is the unit that had the most mystery, I think, right now, right? Who are going to be the stars, who are going to play a lot. Across the defensive line, there's a lot of hype about Christian Miller, the older defensive lineman in the middle, number 52, defensive tackle. I think Jordan Hall is going to start next to him, former 5-star. I think they've got good depth behind them. There's a lot of excitement about 5-star Elijah Griffin, who's a true freshman. There's a lot of excitement about a couple other true freshmen like Isaiah Gibson and Darren Ekanagban. There are guys like Xavier McLeod and Justin Green. There's a lot of depth there that just hasn't played a lot or hasn't played at all. So it's a mystery. Putting Georgia at 7, to me, is a little bit more of a projection than it is, hey, we know that this is what Georgia has for the defensive line. Front 7, biggest mystery for the Dogs, if you ask me, heading into this season. I don't think that they are a top 5 unit. They've got Bama over them. Clemson certainly has the best when you think about having 2 potential top 5 overall picks. Florida ahead of them, maybe there's a conversation. Penn State has done a really good job recruiting there. Michigan has done a good job recruiting there. But there's a lot of mystery here because a lot of these teams lost their best players at that position. Secondary, they've got Georgia ranked number 9. Number 9. They would not have Georgia ranked in the top 10 if Dalen Everett did not return. KJ Bolden will be considered the best secondary player in this unit. True sophomore safety, 5-star guy, potential first-round pick, potential All-American if you ask certain people. They just don't know who the starting safeties are going to be next to him. That's the only thing. You got your cornerbacks down, Dalen Everett, Daniel Harris. You got Ellis Robinson, DeMelo Jones' depth there and potential rotational pieces. I think that the cornerback position's fine. They also have numbers at safety. It's just a matter of who's going to be the starter. Is it Adrian Maddox out of the portal, Zion Branch out of the portal, Jalen Harris out of the portal? They brought in those 3 guys to compete with Ja'Cory Thomas and Janelle Aguero. There's a lot of depth at the secondary. They just got to piece together who it's going to be. They're ranked right ahead of Penn State. Ohio State, led by Caleb Downs, is ranked ahead of them. Clemson, led by Avion Terrell, ahead of them. Notre Dame, led by Leonard Moore, is ahead of them. Alabama, led by Keon Sabb. Texas, led by Michael Taft, who they had a lot of secondary guys go. I don't know if they are quite number 1 this time. This is the one I don't agree with the most, is the linebackers. They've got Georgia's linebackers at number 4. I think it's because they're including the outside linebacker position, and that's not quite as strong with Georgia. They brought in Ella Mendoza out of the transfer portal, but interior linebackers, Justin Williams, Chris Cole, C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, it's hard to beat that group. Right? These are all borderline, if not actual 5-star guys who have played like it in their opportunities. C.J. Allen's played a lot. Raylan Wilson's played a lot. Chris Cole and Justin Williams have played in garbage time. I do agree that Texas and LSU have very strong linebacker units. They are 2 of the programs that they have ranked ahead of Georgia. But this is a Georgia linebacker room that has been putting out Butkus Award players and will likely have a guy compete for that this coming year. I'd be surprised if Georgia didn't have someone compete for the Butkus Award. Probably C.J. Allen. But this kind of shows, look, there's a lot of talent on this Georgia football team. Quarterback was not one I saw ranked in the top 10. And offensive line was not one I saw ranked in the top 10. Offensive line will probably end up being a top 10 unit if I had to guess. Gunnar Stockton, it's on his shoulders. Will he be a top 10 quarterback in college football? That's a whole nother conversation that we've kind of had and will continue to have as the season rolls on. But defensively, there's a lot of faith statistically in Georgia's defense, and it looks like there will be some improvements on the offense if you are listening to that outlet, PFF. What do you think? Links are in the description of this video down below, and I appreciate you watching.